I'd like to be under the sea, in an octopus's garden, in the shade. He'd let us in, knows where we've been.
Well, hello, and thank you for joining me on Totally Legal Productions Comic Book Reviews, Episode 2. Before we get started with today's episode, I just want to throw some thank yous out there to everybody who watched Episode 1, Parts 1 and 2, and who gave me some constructive criticism and positive feedback. I really appreciate your ideas, and I really tried to factor them into today's episode, and I hope it rings true. I really want this program to get better and better with each episode, and, of course, I want the viewers to increase. So, thank you to those people. Keep the constructive criticism coming. I love it. Moving on, let's start. Okay, moving on. On today's show, we will be talking about Batman The Long Halloween, the trade, which is published by DC Comics, DMZ, the first trade, which is issues 1 through 6, published by Vertigo, and therefore DC Comics, and finally a new indie title that I really enjoyed, and I want to promote it because I really dug it, and that is Sparks, issue 1, which is published by Catastrophic Comics. Let's get right to it. Okay, the first book we're going to talk about is Batman The Long Halloween, and it's written by Jeff Loeb, and the artist is Tim Sale. Now, I picked this book up because there was a lot of hype about it going on in the ComicCollectorLive.com forums, and I trust those guys' judgment for the most part, so I thought I'd give it a read, and I found it at a used bookstore, and here we are. Now, it rides the coattails of Frank Miller's Batman Year One storyline, so it takes place very early on in Bruce Wayne's Batman career. And it's drawn and written in a very noir style, and the story is told mainly through images, and there's a lot of, one-word balloon panels or less panels, and that's a good thing, though, as it fits the style very nicely. Now, the plot. Essentially, the plot is there is a killer on the loose, and he commits a murder on every major calendar holiday. And of course, his name has been dubbed Holiday by the media and the team that's assigned to take him out, which includes Batman, Captain James Gordon, he's not the commissioner yet, remember this is early on in Batman's career, and a pre-Two-Face Harvey Dent. Now, writer Jeff Loeb, he tells a great detective story. You really go through a lot of plot hypotheticals and conclusions. Like, you're constantly thinking about who the killer is, and with 13 issues of this, that compiles this trade, you've got a lot of time to think about it, and you're never really too sure. I mean, you can have a good hunch, but you can never really be positive on who it is, and he definitely takes you through a lot of twists and turns. I love how he writes Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle's relationship. It's lusty, it's uncommitted, it's secret. This is before they know who each other's alter ego is, so the Batman-Catwoman relationship is awesomely interesting as well. Artist Tim Sale, he really sells this book with his storytelling. It's dark, it's shadowy, it's edgy, and sometimes a little creepy and a little violent, but he has some awesome two-page and full-page spreads. One specifically I can think of is it has Harvey Dent and Captain Gordon and Batman right in the center, and he's illuminated with the bat signal. Looks pretty awesome. You also have a great supporting cast, too. Joker makes an appearance, Poison Ivy, the Riddler, and even Solomon Grundy, to name a few, but there's a bunch of other villains that show up, so definitely pick this book up. Overall, this book's an awesome read. It is fast-paced, but it's in a good way, as the quick tempo complements the year-long time frame that this book encompasses. I give it a solid 4 stars. Definitely check it out. Batman The Long Halloween, published by DC Comics. On today's menu, we will be talking about Sparks Issue 1, which is published by Catastrophic Comics, a new publisher out there on the comics market. Now, I picked this book up definitely on a whim. My comic book guy actually promoted it as one of his picks of the week a while back. And he also had writer Christopher Foligno and Catastrophic Comics founder William Catt in his store to do a signing for the first issue. So of course I jumped on that opportunity, and I gotta say I'm very glad I did, as I was really impressed with this issue. It's a great read. Now, it's a noir-style comic, and it's definitely jam-packed with action, which is cool, because it is a first issue, and typically first issues have a lot of exposition to deal out, which this comic is not different in that. However, it's just done in a very entertaining way. Now, the plot, it's about a superhero named Spark, and in the beginning of the issue, we meet Ian Sparks, the alter ego, obviously, and he is walking into a newspaper office ready to report his own death. Then we're taken as a reader through flashbacks of his past. We meet his love interest and the gang of supervillains that he fights, which is these gas mask-wearing, evil-looking dudes, and their whole agenda is to go out and kill superheroes, so of course Spark is a target. Now, the book tells the story mainly through pictures and images, which is great, just like Batman The Long Halloween did. It's a noir style, it fits. Writer Christopher Foligno's words are few, but he definitely compliments the artwork of J.M. Ringway, who does a fantastic job in this issue. He has very dark, blended colors, and it complements his thick lines, and it's really heavy inking, and it looks awesome. Now, he also does some great full-page spreads, one of which includes a shot of Rooftop Nookie. That was weird. Anyway, the series, it's only 6 issues, sadly. But it's staying on my pull list, and, it's kind of like watching a good play where the actors, they just don't tell you what they're thinking. They show you what they're thinking. They don't insult your intelligence as an audience member. And that's pretty much what this book does. They don't tell you what's going on. They show you. And I really like that. It adds for a unique element in the story. Overall, I give it a solid 4 stars. Definitely pick it up. Sparks Issue 1, published by Catastrophic Comics. Help support a new publisher. Check it out. And here we are on the final leg of Episode 2, and we're going to be talking about the first trade of DMZ called On the Ground, and it's published by Vertigo Comics and therefore DC Comics. Now, unlike I said in the intro, this first trade of DMZ collects issues 1 through 5, not issues 1 through 6. Now, the plot of this story, it's pretty awesome. It's America's second Civil War, essentially, and it takes place in the very near future, and the two sides include the United States of America, the Union, and they control Queens, Long Island, and Brooklyn. And then the other side is the Free States, the rebels, and they control New Jersey and the surrounding inland area. And in between the two, we have Manhattan, which has been dubbed the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, the neutral territory, if you will. Now, the Civil War has been going on for about 5 years, and the two sides have finally been able to come to terms on a ceasefire, and the United States, the Union, they have decided to send in a team of journalists to document the lives of the people living in the DMZ, living in Manhattan, who just never left, and have been caught in between, in the crossfire in between these two warring factions. And this is where we meet our main character. His name is Matty Roth, and he's a 20-something-year-old guy, and he wanted to be an intern on the journalist crew, and he just kind of gets thrown into this whole situation, and as soon as his helicopter lands in the DMZ and he gets off of it, the action unfolds, and it does not slow down for the rest of the trade. It's pretty awesome. Now, writer Brian Wood, he does a great job. He writes a very compelling story. Essentially we're following Matty around, and he's documenting the lives of the people in this DMZ. And, he definitely makes his political views known. It's obvious that Wood is a fan of freedom of speech, who isn't, but also freedom of the press. And it almost seems like he subscribes to the conspiracy theory that the media controls everything we see, and that, we hear what they want us to hear, not necessarily the facts, but, they're controlling our streamline of information. It almost seems like he subscribes to that, and it's pretty interesting to read. But artist, Riccardo Bercelli, he does a fantastic job, and I think he really makes this book. That seems to be the running theme in today's episode. I keep commenting on how great the artists are, and Bercelli's no exception in DMZ. He creates a very real and gritty environment. Like, his attention to detail is exquisite. Just the writings on the walls, the graffiti, the posters. I mean, you almost can smell the DMZ. He makes it very real, and he definitely goes there in his imagery. Like, if you look at any photo essay or journalistic essay of any wartime situation, and they show shots of civilians and just the sadness and how maimed they are. He definitely goes there with his art, and it's very powerful and it's very, very vivid. Overall, definitely this book is a steal. For $10, you get an awesome story, and the series is young. It's only on issue 34, so there's no time like the present to begin at the beginning with this one. I give it a 4-star rating. DMZ On the Ground, Volume 1, the first trade, published by Vertigo and DC Comics. That wraps up episode 2. Thanks for watching, and be sure to come back for episode 3. Just want to give a quick shout out. Go Falcons! Go Bills this Sunday. Come Sunday night, they're going to both be 2-0. Thanks for watching, and please come back for episode 3. This is your friend Andy, signing off.